Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Space Engineers, where if what's in this background has anything to do with this video, you know this video is going to get crazy. And to put into perspective what is actually over there, I'm going to run over here. There you go. Can you hear me? Hello? Hello? Can you hear me? Yeah, I think this should put into perspective quite truly what I'm getting up to today. Thank you. Thank you for letting me know my fuel is critical. But yes, today we are going to messing around with more suspension. However, this isn't so much going to be a tutorial video today. No. Today I want to mess around with suspension for my actual main survival series rover. Because I haven't made any videos on that series in like a good couple of weeks, and partially it's because I'm terrified in making a video. Hello, dog. Hello. Yes, hello. I love you too. But yeah, it's not so much that like I'm not scared of the series. I want to know what I'm building before I get into it. I don't want to just start in survival. It's starting survival and make a mess. So as you'll see here, we're in a brand new a brand new creative world where I can test all my building. Dog, no. Go on, out you go. Out you go. No. Oh, he's so cute. But so annoying. So yeah, today we're going to be looking through a couple of different designs, and I also... stop it! I'm also going to try build a couple. That way you can sort of see how I design them. But yeah, that's what we're going to get on today, so let's get started. So, starting off with... I guess we'll start off with this one. This was where, in the last video, if you saw the... most recent suspension testing video, you may have seen this particular vehicle in the background, and this is the premise suspension type of what I want to use for this rover that I'm going to build. However, I think I'm going to do something similar to over here, where from that I attach a couple of rotors which allow two sets of wheels to move. Now, I had a couple of concerns about number of wheels. So I'm going to start simple. I had a bit of concerns about number of wheels in contact with the ground to how much power you get. Because it may seem a little bit weird, but in this game, the size of the wheels don't so much matter in terms of power. It's how many wheels you have producing power. So a 3x3 wheel, so like one of these wheels, creates almost the same amount of power as one of the 5x5 wheels. However, in the same amount of space as those 4 wheels, I can fit so many more wheels. However, you just lose some ground clearance. You can obviously get around this by using thrusters and such, and that's this is what I'm actually planning on doing. But yeah, it's just worth thinking about. Other thing I want to work out is how short I can get this particular shaft to be, because the shorter I get that, the more stable and less being able to bend left and right this suspension will be able to do. And you also may notice I'm using connectors to attach the wheel suspensions. That is just because the offset is a little bit weird, and it's the easiest way to connect to grids of these two together in a stable manner. Now, if I was purely just using these, I wouldn't be able to control the wheels, but because it runs through and actually connects to a solid mass which goes to the vehicle, it actually works, which is quite nice. But yeah, so let's do a little mock-up and let's see how short I can get it to work. So I wanna place a couple like that. Let's place that. And then
critical.
you don't have to use any of these blocks, but I particularly like to use the columns. Just because, you know, they're round and they kind of look a little bit like a drive shaft. But it's definitely not needed. Let's see. Let's use the advanced. I don't need to, but I just like the look of it. And then one thing I've done with all of these vehicles is the lowest point, so this height is always going to be angled downwards to the wheels, right? Because this is always going to be higher than that. Even when this suspension is fully flat, it's going to be almost level. What I want to do is start it off being basically level, and then it has movement, or it has the ability to go down, as well as the ability to go up. I think that's my best bet, rather than it be completely angled down. So what I want to start off with is, let's try a 15 degree. And then a 15 degree. Like that, and that should be fairly level. It is. And then what I want to do is probably something like that. I'm guessing if I do 15 on this one, or negative 15. It should work. Let's just test. Ah, yeah, plenty of space. Nice and easy. Okay, so that's the first part. The second part is then being able to actually create a wheel with a rotor on it. So I have a large one here, which you can create your own. And you know what? I'll show you, just for those who are new, how you build or how you create what I've got here. So you get a wheel suspension. It doesn't matter what wheel suspension you use, you can use any. I tend to like to use the thin one ones, just because they're nice. Now delete that. I'll create a couple of blocks and a block like that. And you know what, I'll go a block like that. And I'm going to get a piston. You put the piston pointing into the block. And then you get a rotor. Get the head of the rotor. Doesn't really matter what head. For this one I'm going to use an advanced rotor. Normally I just use a basic rotor. Make sure you have a battery hooked up onto this grid. And then you push the rotor head inside. So the front part is just about sticking out. And then you need a mod of some kind which allows you to interact with blocks without having to go into a terminal. And so something like Build Vision I use, you'll see there's an attach button, which if you actually looked into the terminal, there is no technically attach of a wheel, it's just an add wheel. But yeah, you attach it, you'll see it goes inside, delete that, you delete the rotor, also the piston head, and all you're left with is a rotor inside, which as you can see, we have attached like that, and you can move the grid up and down. Very nice. One other thing to keep in mind is these blocks don't have any collisions whatsoever on one other grid. So the grid, I've explained this before, but I'll explain it again. So this yellow grid
critical.
and this blue grid are... Oh, these two grids are separate from each other. It's a subgrid from the yellow... The blue is a subgrid from the yellow through the suspension block. And that means that it has no collisions with this... The blue has no collisions with the yellow just because that's how wheels work. It's kind of weird. However, if I had another grid on the yellow block, the blue would have a collision with that other grid. It's kind of weird. Basically, just as long as these two are together, they don't have collisions, anything else will have collisions. Like, I have a collision with it. If I placed a rotor, for instance, the rotor, you can see there, the block has a collision with this because it is technically a third subgrid. If I made it red, you'll see here, that is a subgrid of that one. So this red hinge, and then, oh, this red rotor, and I've deleted it, you'll see, because that's technically on the yellow grid, it doesn't have a collision. It's very weird stuff, but it's simply how you build those things. So the next thing I want to work out how to do is build a vehicle which works. Oh dear. I'll make sure the longer side's on the bottom. So with these suspension pieces, you'll see, especially on this off-road type, this length here is technically shorter than this length here in terms of distance from that line to that line. It's just a fun way of being able to work out which way a suspension block can go. And then the other thing I want to do... Right, so that's going to go like that. And so technically here, this is where I will be putting them blocks. So they'll go like that. So if I was to lower this to, let's say, 16, sure, 17. And I was to raise this up to 17 or so. You know what, 20. 20 will do. 20 is a nice whole number. Whereabouts does this line up if I was to make it as short as physically possible? So that would be where they are as low as possible. It would be pretty much on this level here, wouldn't it? Yeah, okay. I'll explain what I'm talking about in just a second, but I want to get this to work. And you'll see it's got a bit of bend to it, but if I was to share another tensor, it already gets a lot better. So don't worry about that too much. And then I want to make sure it lines up nicely. So that means I want to do about that distance. Yeah, that should be good. Which way did I put this one on? Longer sides on the bottom. I want to... Okay. So I actually did this side wrong. I want the longer side now to be on the top because I want it to be the opposite to whatever the bottom one was. Then I want that to be like that. And then I want this one to be as far up that way as possible, and I want this to be as far down as possible. You see it's nice like that. I'm going to set 20 as a limit. And then I'm also going to set 20 on here. Actually, no, I'm going to leave that one flexible. Then I'm going to switch lock like that. And then I'm going to set both of these strengths to 0. Like that. Okay, so that's pretty good. So now, this axle is connected to... Oh, that's connected to this red axle separately from this grey set. Which is quite cool. And so far this is actually quite compact. Quite easy. So we do the left, we go all the way down. And the right we go all the way up. Or the other way around technically, but you'll see here it's got quite a nice tilt. And the arm is actually fairly balanced within the whole mechanism. Yeah, that should work quite nicely. Yeah, I like that. You see, it's fairly stable. One thing I do see is this rotor head is going in and out there. A little bit, but yeah, that's fine. Ooh, actually, thinking about it, one thing I didn't show off was actually how this thing drives. I put this vehicle here as a little test, and I've added thrusters just to make the vehicle move a bit faster, and to be honest, that's probably what I'll end up doing actually on my final vehicle, is have a couple of thrusters pointing in each direction, so no matter where I turn it works. But I'm going to do a test where I just drive up here. And I'm just going to set an angle, and I'm just going to show it off. I'm just going to see what it does. So I'm using... Damage is enabled in this world. I will say it does tilt a lot. But this is the long suspension, so I'm hoping having it a bit shorter will fix this just a tad. You'll see the side perspective a little bit. It goes down this hill. Yeah, it's quite a satisfying suspension in all honesty. And it works quite well. I'm actually quite happy with it. How stable it is. You will see the weight. We're at, what, 2.7 million kilograms of weight, because each of them large cargo containers are full of weight. Yeah, it's nice. It is very nice. Does that look a little bit softer? Not really. Okay. Well, let's test it anyway, and let's see how it reacts. So I want a control seat, and I want a programmable block. And now, I had one person ask me in the last video to explain about these programmable, or these programs that I use, the script. Now, I don't use my own scripts. I don't make my own scripts. I'm not a person who particularly likes doing anything with scripts. I like people doing them for me. So, the thing I use to control my wheels in all of these is the whip subgrid wheel control script. You'll be able to find it on the Steam work page. But yeah, I like this one. You basically have to do almost nothing. It just works. It has a nice little decal. Did I turn off these? No. Right, let's turn off them. And let's test this vehicle. Ooh, that's one thing I do need to sort. So on all of these I need to turn off steering, propulsion, brakes, air shocks. I want it all off. Don't want any power. The only really thing you're bothered about is the strength in that. Don't want any of this to be a thing. Let's see how this does it, climbing and driving and doing all the stuff a vehicle should be able to do. Not really doing a lot of flexing, is it? If at all. Right, so let's go down at a bit of an angle and let's force it to have to flex. Right, so let's make a very big, steep lump. And let's see how much flex we actually get from this whole system, shall we? So if I just drive up this. Okay. Only right at the end there does that.
Fuel critical.
It's an amount of flex, but it's not amazing. So does that get affected if I lowered the strength even more? So if I had 2%? Does it make it any better? If I actually then just force this to go through? Like, it's not terrible. And it doesn't have the leaning problem, I guess, with this one, but it still has the bending if it needs. I quite like this design. It just has that... The fact is, this is a giant grid. I don't want it to be flexing over everything, especially... I'm not going to be driving over extremely rough terrain. It's more or less I want to keep all wheels in contact whilst I'm going over hills like this. And this pretty much keeps contact with the ground at all times. Also, this width is growing on me. I actually kind of like it. Like, even driving on this really ruggedy bit there, I'm not getting close to like bottoming out, so. Oops. Yeah. Actually, in all honesty, very fun. What if I just send it up this ramp? I'm just messing about. This is why it takes me ages to get stuff done. Because the second I get something working, I just drive around. Whee! Oh yeah, that's fine. I'm sorry, I could just honestly drive these vehicles around for like hours on end because they are just so much fun. Like just and up and down and up and down. Whee! But yeah, that was the main reason for making today's video, was to sort of show off the plan, I guess I could say, of what I want to get done for this big build for this large Grid Rover. This is the update. This is where we are sort of developing. I know I said I wanted to make something mega, but working out how much free time I have and really what I'm actually going to make out of this vehicle, going with something more reasonably sized is just going to be better in every way. I'll be able to build the entire vehicle out of heavy armor, where if I was going to make something absolutely mega, I'd have to probably stick with light. So I want to build heavy armor, this thing out of heavy armor, just so it's stronger. And I think I'll just be able to make cool looking things out of it. But yeah, something about this size is probably going to be quite good. Have a big drill rig in the center where I can just dig straight down. Yeah, I like it. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you have actually any other ideas for suspension before I commit to this one. If you guys have a particular design, let me know. But as always, my name's been Quantum Chief, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye!